Hey there! Have you ever been in that spot where you're staring at two quotes and you just know one is cheaper, but you're wondering, is it really the smarter choice? It's a classic problem, right? Well, in this explainer, we're going to build a powerful toolkit that just takes all the guesswork out of these decisions. It's all about helping you look way beyond the price tag to find what the real best option is every single time.
I mean, we've all been there. You've got a couple of proposals on your desk, and one is just way cheaper. The temptation to just go for it is real, isn't it? But then there's that little nagging feeling in the back of your head. Is this cheap path really gonna be the best one in the long run? It's such a simple question, but man, the answer can have some massive consequences for your whole project.
So, let's get rid of that nagging feeling once and for all. Instead of just relying on guesswork or a gut feeling, we're going to build a clear, logical framework. Something that can transform that tangled mess of options into a nice, straightforward decision. And our very first building block for this is a concept called value for money.
All right, our whole foundation starts with this idea called value for money, or VFM for short. Now, this is not just about saving cash. It's about getting the absolute best outcome for the resources you're putting in. And it all breaks down into three core ideas, what people often call the 3 E's.
First up is economy. Now, the key word here, you gotta notice it, is sensible. This isn't about being cheap just for the sake of being cheap, no. It's about spending wisely, making sure you get the quality you absolutely need without, overpaying. You could call it the art of being frugal, not fragile.
Okay, next we have efficiency. Think of this one as the engine of your decision. How smoothly does this thing run? An efficient process gets you the result you want with the least amount of wasted time or energy or materials. It's all about having tight control and a really streamlined path from point A to point B.
And finally, we get to what is arguably the most important E, effectiveness. The bottom line question is, does it actually work? You can have the most economical and efficient process in the entire world, but if it doesn't solve the core problem you're trying to fix, it is completely worthless. So why does all this matter so much? Well, because these 3 E's give your decision-making a really solid foundation. They act like a shield for your budget, right? They force you to spend in a disciplined way. They give you a clear scale to make real apples-to-apples comparisons. And altogether, kind of like the 3 legs of a stool, they make sure your final choice is balanced and stable. Not just cheap, but strong and effective. Now, VFM gives us this fantastic foundation for making a great decision for today. But what about tomorrow and the year after that? To make some truly robust choices, we need to add a second really crucial lens, sustainability. And look, this isn't just about being green. It's about the long-term health of our project and, frankly, our whole organization. So, sustainability really stands on 3 main pillars. First, there's the environmental impact. How much energy are we using? How much waste are we creating? Second is the social impact. Are we making sure our workforce is safe? Are we being a good neighbor in our community? And third, the economic impact. What's the total cost over the entire life of this solution? And are we creating value right here locally?
What's really interesting here is how you can frame sustainability. On one side, you can see it as a whole list of risks you have to avoid, things like resource strain or compliance issues. But you can also flip it over and see it as this huge field of opportunities. The chance to find cleaner energy, build a safer workplace, support local businesses, and ultimately create something with a much longer, more valuable life. It's the same coin, just depends on which side you're looking at.
Okay, so we've got our 2 core concepts down, value for money and sustainability. So how do we actually put them together to make a decision? Well, this section is all about turning that theory into action. This is where the rubber meets the road.
Here is a super simple 4-step process. First, you rate every single option against the same fixed criteria. No moving the goalposts mid-game. Second, you score them, but, and this is crucial, you give different weights to what matters most to you. Third, you look for the gaps. Where is one option stronger than another? And finally, you select the option that gives you that perfect blend of stable cost and dependable results.
The absolute best way to do this is with a tool called an evaluation matrix. I know, it looks simple, but it is incredibly powerful. You just list out your criteria, and here you can see we're using our VFM and sustainability concepts, and then you assign a weighting to each one based on your priorities. So for this decision, let's say cost and reliability are really key, but you know what? Sustainability still matters.
And this is where the magic happens. Look closely at this. Option A is cheaper, right? It scored a perfect 5 on cost. If the price tag was our only guide, it would be the clear winner, no question.
But look over at option B. It's much stronger on its process and way better on sustainability. So once we factor in our weightings and add up the final scores, look at that. Option B actually comes out on top. This is the power of the matrix. It shows you the true best value, not just the lowest price.
So, making the right choice, that's really only half the battle. Now you have to convince other people. A strong justification is what turns a good decision into an approved project.
To build a totally bulletproof case, you have to argue on two fronts. On one hand, you have the financial grounds. You talk about the total cost, the efficiency savings, the long-term economic benefits. But you can't forget the equally important non-financial grounds. Things like improved safety, better workforce well-being, or how this choice just fits perfectly with the organization's big strategic goals. When you put them both together, it's undeniable.
And finally, always remember that your decisions don't happen in a vacuum. Every single choice you make sends ripples outwards. Inside the organization, it shapes your company's culture and its reputation, and out in society, it can impact everything from the local environment all the way to public trust. Thinking about these bigger effects adds some serious weight to your recommendation.
So, as we wrap this up, I'm going to leave you with this challenge. The next time you're faced with a big decision, don't just ask about the price tag. Ask yourself, using this framework we just built, what is the true cost and the true value of this choice? Thanks for sticking with me on this one.